Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll start a new chapter, traverse surveying. Okay. So traverse, we have got two types of traverse. One is open traverse, the other is closed traverse. The open traverse, it goes endlessly, something like this. We are not completed. We have started at the point. We have shifted to point B. We have shifted to point C. Shifted to point D and shifted to point E and go continuously. But we are not closing the polygon at point A. It is an open-ended traverse. So it is called an open traverse. The next is what is called a closed traverse. So we have got a pentagon actually. So you start with this point, for example, you start at one point and then you go to the other point, reach the point again. This is what is called a closed traverse. So in a closed traverse, you start at the point A here. Okay, you start at the point A. You go about in an anti-clockwise direction. You just go to point B, point C, point D, point E, and point A dash. So A dash is what is called as a closing error. A dash is the what is called a closing error. Now, in a closed traverse, you know very well that just wanted to show you one figure at least from my source. Yeah. Is that visible to you? Is it visible? The screen is visible to you?
Yes.
Is that visible to you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you have got a line AB. The length of the line is L. Length of the line is L. So the component of or when you resolve it along the north, okay, when you resolve it along the north, the component of it is L cos theta. Okay, the component of it is called L cos theta. This is what is called the latitude of the line. Latitude. Okay. And the component resolved along the x-axis or the abscissa is what is called a sine component. So L sine theta. So in the first quadrant, both latitude and departure. Normally we refer to x and y. Here is the different actually. We refer to y and x. Do you get the point? We refer to y and x. So latitude and departure are positive in the first quadrant because the sin theta component and the cos theta component are positive. Okay. Now you come to down. Now the same line, suppose it is inclined this way and theta is that. So your latitude is negative and departure is positive. Latitude is negative and departure is positive. Don't confuse yourself with the latitude of a place. Latitude here is a cos component of the line resolved along the axis. Okay. You get the point? Come to this. Suppose the angle is measured in degree from north. So always L sin theta will be negative over here. L cos theta also is negative. Like so, both latitude and departure are negative. Now you come to the fourth quadrant. Latitude is positive, departure is negative. Now you know the sign convention. Now you know the sign convention. Is it clear? Latitude and departure. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay? Something similar to your somebody started with the shear force and a bending moment diagram for you? Applied mechanics?
Not yet, sir.
No,
Not
sir.
yet. Huh? Shear force.
No,
and a
sir.
bending
Not yet.
diagram? Huh? Started?
No, sir.
No. 1 minute. Actually, the class much is urgent. Okay. So shear force and a bending moment diagram, when you have got a beam and if it is loaded transversely, so algebraic sum of forces under the right or left of the section is what is called a shear force diagram. Algebraic sum of the moment to the right or left of the section is called the bending moment diagram. So this is the definition. Same thing, we have got a sign convention. We say that the sin theta component and the cos theta component of a line, if it is positive and first quadrant, so the latitude is negative and departure is positive in the second quadrant. In the third quadrant, both latitude and departure are negative. In the fourth quadrant, latitude is positive and departure is negative. Now we go by a rider that in a closed traverse, algebraic sum of latitude and departure is equal to 0. Algebraic sum of latitude and departure is equal to 0. Do you get the point? Algebraic sum of the latitude and departure is equal to 0. Now we come to this. So this is what is called a closing error. Okay, closing error. So you start with the point A, you go to point B, C, D, E, and you have taken observation towards which point from E? Then you start with the A, you take observation towards which point? AB, and from B you take observation towards BA, BC, from C it is CB, CD. So we'll be measuring the length also. We'll be measuring what? The bearing of the line. So we will be finding out what is the whole circle bearing of this. Once you know this length of the line, what is it you can calculate? So if at point A you can calculate the latitude and departure of AB. So at point B, you can calculate the latitude and departure of BC. At point C, you can calculate the latitude and departure of CD. At point D, you can calculate the latitude and departure of DE. At point E, you can calculate the latitude and departure of what?
A dash, sir.
E?
A dash. A dash.
Oh, I see. I see. Is that A dash is available in the field?
No, sir. We'll take EA only.
Huh?
Sir, we will think we'll be taking EA, sir.
Will be? At E, what will be doing? What we will be doing in the field? At point D, you will be observing point E. Okay. So you will be finding out what is the bearing of DE. You will be measuring line DE. Okay. At E, what will you do? That is what my question. See, surveying is an application of your geometry and mathematical knowledge in the field and trying to solve the problem. At E, what will you do? You say that you will be finding out the bearing of E A dash. Okay. In field, what will you do? See, surveying, you got a two component. One is office work and the other is a field work. Do you understand that? What is that you do in a field is a field work. So you'll be observing the length, you'll be observing the bearing, all these things. But you come to office, what will you do? You start plotting it. You understand that? Okay. So at the field, what will you observe? If you understand this question,
point
we
A.
observe, yes, sir.
You will be finding out what? You'll be finding out bearing and length of EA.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You'll be finding out the length, bearing and the length of EA. So you come to office. Now you start plotting it. You understand that? You start plotting it. What happens? There is a error. Okay, there is a error. You understand that? There is a error. What will happen now? What is the difference between a mistake and an error? What's the difference between a mistake and an error?
Sir, error is beyond human control, sir.
Mistake?
It is due to human carelessness, sir.
Negligence of a human being. Okay. Okay. Mistake is, it's a one which can be rectified. Error is a one which is beyond the purview of the observer. Why such error happen here? What is the reason for this error? What could be the reason for the error?
The instrument is not proper.
Huh?
Instrument.
There could be many reasons. No? Suppose some magnetic
local attraction is the problem.
Suppose you are using a compass, some magnetic materials are available in the field that get distracted. So first thing is you have to correct the bearing actually. First part of it you have to correct the local attraction. Sometime what happen, the tape itself will have an error which you would not have noticed it and then you would have carried out your work. Okay. So you have learned, see, two things are there. One is a angular measurement and the other is a linear measurement. You are familiar with the tape and the tape corrections. What are the tape corrections? What are all the tape corrections what you have come across so far?
Sir, temperature correction, sag correction, full correction, horizontal correction.
Yeah, alignment, horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, all these things you have seen it, no? And the last one, what is it?
So sea level.
Correction to the mean sea level. Okay, all these things, because when you are doing a triangulation survey, I told you that I will not repeat the corrections. I'll just go on because I will say that I have covered this portion already and then go forward. So, two things are there. They are the precision of the angular measurement, precision of your linear measurement. Okay. If you are doing it precisely, what will happen? The error get minimized actually. How to get the error minimized? I want the error to be minimized. See, in your survey syllabus, you have got what you call the theory of errors actually. The theory of error, we go by what is called the theory of probability. The theory of probability which says that both positive and negative error are evenly distributed and it follows a Gaussian trend. So Gaussian curve you have seen a normal distribution curve. Normal distribution curve. All of you, probability you would have learned, no? Or yet to learn it?
We are yet to learn, sir.
Yet to learn, okay. But in a high school level, probability is being taught now, no? You don't learn it. No?
So we don't have this Gaussian distribution.
Distribution?
Yes.
No, huh? And very difficult for me to explain rather. Okay. Right, the probability is that somebody started a concrete actually. Concrete technology. You started learning?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you define what is called a characteristic strength of a concrete?
Sir, it is the strength of the concrete specimen at 28 days. Compressive strength of the concrete specimen at 28 days, sir.
Compressive strength of one specimen? One specimen?
Yes, sir.
No. It should have a legal validity, no? So say M20. What is M20? M20.
So you see, it is a concrete mixed design whose strength is 20 megapascals.
20 megapascals. Is that M20? Is that a codal provision? Is that codal provision? No. It's
I don't know about that, but so in the name it was written in the PPT.
In the PPT, what is it been given?
It was given that the like M20, M15 and M10 are the names for the mixed design, where M stands for the mixed design and the numbers represent the strength of the concrete after 28 days.
No. Characteristic strength has got a different meaning. Suppose I test 100 cubes actually. You know. Suppose I Meena, I'm in a class, I will come back. Your problem is solved by, don't worry. Hello? Okay. You can call me after half an hour because I'm in a class. Suppose I test 100 cubes. Okay. And the mixed design is 20 megapascal. How many of the cubes are expected to fall at 20 megapascal? In a very crude way, I am telling you. What is it? 100 cubes I am testing it.
So not more than 5 should fall.
Not more than
5.
Huh?
5, sir.
5 what?
5 cubes.
5 cubes should fail. Huh?
Not more than 5 cubes should fail, sir.
Question is 100 cubes I am testing. 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter. I am casting a concrete. I am just curing it for 28 days. I am testing it. How many cubes are supposed to have a strength of more than 20 megapascal or exactly 20 megapascal? Then we say that M20
80 cubes.
Huh? You are a civil engineer, right? This is a very important subject. That's what I am focusing on that. See, characteristic says that it's a test. This strength of the concrete cubes is the strength of the concrete cubes CUBES, in which 95% of the test result are expected to fall within that range. That means 95 cubes you are to test it, it should be in the range of 20 megapascal or 95% confidence limit. Do you understand that? 95% confidence limit. This is the area enclosed by a normal distribution curve between mu minus 2 sigma and mu plus 2 sigma. You understand? Sigma is the standard deviation, mu is the mean of it. Okay, mu minus 2 sigma to mu plus 2 sigma, area enclosed by the curve is 95%. That is how we define the confidence limit in our concrete code actually. If you take IS 456, the definition for character strength is different actually. So at least civil engineer, you should have a copy of the IS 456. Okay, try to have it. So why we are talking about a error? So error is beyond the purview. Suppose I give you tape. There is a table. There is a table. I wanted the length of the table. So 64 students are there. What is the true value of the quantity? Can we determine the true value of the quantity? Because it's not in the syllabus, I'm spending time on that. It's not. I'm not going out of your class actually. Can you find out what is the true value of a quantity? The question is very difficult. 64 tapes or 64 persons are there, and you are finding out what is the length of a particular table. Or if 2 points are there, A and B. You have been given a tape. You are measuring it. 64 such observations are there. You understand that? 64 such observations are there. What is the true value of the quantity between A and B?
So the average of all the observations.
Right. Average of what? 64 observations. Okay. Average of
64 observations.
64 observations. So this what is it called? Average of 64 observations. Any idea? Because this is what is called the quality control. So the true value of the quantity is a virtual thing which we cannot determine. It is very much ideal, which we cannot determine. It is fixed actually. Okay. So what is that you will be finding out is what is called the most probable value of the quantity. So what is that you will be finding out? It is what is called the most probable value of the quantity. The most probable value fixes the upper domain and the lower domain within which the true value of quantity is more likely to occur. Do you understand that? So the most probable value fixes a domain. For example, the length of a line is 30 meter between 2 points. 30 meter is the true length of the line. But what the most probable value says is 30 plus or minus 0.01 meter. What does it mean? So 30 point.
That's
30
the least
meter
count
and 1
of the
millimeter.
instrument.
30 meter and 1 millimeter plus 30 meter 1 millimeter minus. So 30 meter is the true value of the quantity. So most probable value says that it fixes the upper domain and the lower domain in which the true value of the quantity lies. Okay, you understand the concept of it. Now, what is the most probable value? Here 64 observations are there. The most probable value is nothing but the arithmetic mean. It is arithmetic mean. Understand that? So all the 64 values you tabulate it and divide it by 64, you get a mean value of it. This is what is called as the mean value of quantity, or it is called the arithmetic mean. So arithmetic mean also lies in the what is called your most probable value. So what I will do is, I will allot 10 students. 10 students in a class, they will be measuring twice actually. First time, second time. 2 times they will be measuring. The next batch of students, they will be measuring 3 times the value and finding out the average. Do you understand that? Third batch, they will be measuring 3 times the value. Fourth batch, 4 times the value. Fifth batch, 5 times the value. Sixth batch, 6 times the value and find average. What is that I am doing now?
For the increasing number of observations, we are just reaching to the actual value. We are just reaching more and more near to the actual value by taking the arithmetic mean of those values.
So I am attaching what is called a degree of precision. Am I right? A degree of precision to my measurement. So first set of people, they will be measuring 2 times the value actually. Isn't it? So 2 times they measure it and then they report it. So I will attach what is called a weight 2. This is what is called the weight actually. It is the weight observation. So I am attaching a weight to the degree of precision to the observation. This is called a weight actually. Okay. So now what is the most probable value if I am doing it as a weight observation?
So the mean of the different mean of the means of the different observations.
Called. What is it called? What is it called? How are you evaluated, boys? How are you evaluated? The alphanumeric grade, na? All of you? The first year, all of you have passed it. Somebody is carrying arrears. Anybody here in this group? A section performance is not that compared to B section. That's what I find. Which subject you find it tough? Last semester? Many failures? Which subject you failed? Most of the students failed in that. Number of failure. Your results are out?
Yes, sir.
How about your result? How many of you passed clear all subject? I can go to MIS and collect the data, but I just wanted to know from you. At least 90% of the class?
Yes, sir.
90% of the class have cleared all the subjects? Can I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Suppose somebody has got a E grade in a particular subject. E grade in a particular subject. And the credit is 3 credit. Okay. Similarly, he has got E grade in all subject. E grade in all subjects. 6 subject he got a E grade 3 credit. And 2 subject he got a E grade with 2 credit. What is the CGPA? How will you calculate CGPA?
It's a weighted mean, sir.
6 subject, 3 credit, E grade. 2 subject, 2 credit, E grade. What is the CGPA?
E grade, sir. 5.
What is the CGPA for you?
5, sir.
How come a 5? CGPA is 6 into for E grade is 5. Credit is 3. 6 into 3, 18. 18 into 5, 90. 90 plus 2 into 5 into 2 is not 4 into 5, 20. 110. 110 divided by what is your total CGPA? 18. 18 plus 20, 22. Yeah, 110 divided by 22, 5. Very good. How did you got it? What is this?
It's 5. This is weighted arithmetic mean.
Weighted mean, sir.
This is what is called the. This is the weighted
Weighted
mean,
mean.
is it not? Your CGPA
Weighted
is
arithmetic.
nothing but
Yes.
your weighted mean only, weighed mean actually. So the most probable value of the quantity is what? Most probable value of the quantity is what?
The weighted mean.
Yes, it's a weighed arithmetic mean. It's a weighed arithmetic, weighted mean actually. Do you understand that? So, okay. Now you come to this figure. What do you understand in this figure? You started with the A. What do you understand in this figure? You have taken observation at the point E towards what point?
A.
Towards A, because A dash is a virtual thing, no? You don't have A dash, but you come to office. Now what happened? You started plotting it. Do you understand that? You started plotting it. Plotting is not being done in the field itself. You understand that? Office work is done in the office only. You come, you have collected the data, you know what is the degree of precision of angular measurement, degree of precision of linear measurement, you have got a weighted arithmetic mean. That is why you got a quality control. See, surveying is very important. Why? Because something is available, you can construct, you can design a multi-story building. You understand that? You can think it and you can make it in a paper. How to make it reality? When you construct a column, what do you expect in a column? Column is a pillar. This column is a engineer's language. So you got a slender column. Suppose I am constructing a building with a 10-story. Okay. About 30 to 35 meter. What is the criteria? What is you are expecting actually? You construct a column. Column is a compression member, boy. Column is a compression member. Beam, how do you classify a beam? In the basic civil, you would have somebody would have taught you. You know what is a compression member? You know what is a compression member? You know what is a tension member? Okay. No, all are keeping quiet. What is a compression member? Is a column, boy. The column is a compression member. Okay. Column, 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 long column, short column, strut. All these things are. Strut is a member in the truss. Have you heard of a truss? TRUSS.
Yes, sir.
Truss.
Yes, sir.
Truss. In the mill type of building, in your factory building, you have a truss actually. Okay, king post truss, queen post truss, a steel construction. Okay, so you got a truss. Column is a compression member. There are tension member. How do you classify a beam? A beam, B-E-A-M, beam.
Transverse.
It is in terms of forces, column you
Based
got
on how it's
axial loading. Stress is nothing but a load by area, cross-sectional area. Beam, how do you classify the beam?
So transverse load.
Fundamental of a
Carrying.
civil engineer, you should not forget it. What type of a member is a beam? You look at your, all are sitting in a house, no? You just look at your top, somewhere you got a, what is called a beam actually, right? Concrete beam is there. And what is that on the top is the slab actually. So beam, you see the beam. What type of a member is a beam actually? B-E-A-M, beam.
Sir, tensile member.
It's beam.
Tensile member.
It's a,
Tensile member.
it's not a tensile member.
Horizontal.
It's not a force. You have to classify in terms of a force actually. The compression. So a column is subjected to a compressive stress. Suppose I am pulling out here.
The torsion member.
It is called a tension actually. So when you pull a steel bar, the member is subjected to a tension. A beam. What type of forces you have in a beam?
So torsion.
So compressive.
Not ours.
Compressive force.
Bending moment, sir.
No. Bending moment induces stress. What type of stress is induced in a beam? Bending moment induce a stress in the beam. S-T-R-E-S-S, stress in the beam. What type of stress is induced? The beam is subjected to both tension and compression. So the top fiber will be under compression and the bottom will be under tension. Such a type of this member which experiences both compression as well tension is called a flexural member. F-L-E-X-U-R-A-L, flexural member. A civil engineer should never forget this word flexure. Okay, it's called a flexural member. That is why we are reinforcing the beam. Why are you reinforcing the beam? Reinforcing the slab. Have you heard of reinforced cement concrete, RCC? Why are we reinforcing the cement concrete?
Yes, sir.
Sir, concrete has very less compressive tensile strength, sir.
Very good compressive strength. It has got a very good compressive strength. So when you use this word, you should use concrete is relatively weak in tension. Doesn't mean that it's strong in compression. It has got a compressive strength, but it has got a low tensile strength. So concrete tension is not taken. So what happens when you are loading a beam or a slab, bottom of it is subjected to a tension which the concrete cannot withstand. So you reinforce to that side. Do you understand that? Concrete cannot withstand the tension. So what we do? We reinforce it with the steel bar. That is why we got the member is called a flexural member. Do you understand that? The member is called a flexural member. All these things are very important for a civil engineer. Not that a survey. So why I am telling you is we construct a column, we design a column. What is the criticality in it? We started there, no? We talked about the column is a compression member. You can draw a column in a sheet of paper, but when you mark it on the field, what is the critical element in that? Criticality in construction of a column. It should be truly vertical with a horizontal surface by, is it not? It should be truly vertical. The column should be truly vertical. How will you check the verticality? Somebody answered the same thing on the day. A plumb up. Is it not? Suspend a
Yes,
plumb
sir.
up. Right. But if it is 100 meter or 150 meter in height, you cannot do that with a plumb up. In that case, surveying come to our, it's a, the tool is a surveying tool. How to check your verticality? I will give you an assignment. I will not give you solution, but you have to think, and then it's a critical assignment. One assignment is very critical rather. You can consult anybody in the world and you have to find out an answer for, convincing answer for me rather. Because this is the one work which we did it in a nearby place actually. You have to check the parallelism of a rail. Okay, suppose you got a train track, isn't it? You got a train track. If the parallelism is not maintained, what will happen?
Derailment.
So it will derail, sir.
Derail, na? Train will derail. Okay. You got a broad gauge. What is the length of a broad gauge actually? The distance between the gauge, it's a gauge length 5 feet and 5 inches. 3 feet and 3 inches is your meter gauge. 5 feet and 5 inches is your broad gauge. You convert it into meter actually, right? Suppose there is a difference of 1 inch. What will happen? The train will. You have heard of a gantry girder? Gantry girder.
No, sir.
But slowly you have to inculcate something of civil engineering into you, because this is a wonderful subject which I love it very much. The surveying, like, right? Think of a gantry girder. We'll explain you a problem tomorrow, because the problem itself is very tedious. You got a gantry girder, you got a rail. The gauge length is not 5 feet and 5 inches. It is about 12 meter. 12 meter width actually, the width of the factory actually, more than that, 15 meters suppose. So it moves on a wheel. If the wheel is somewhere the parallelism is not maintained, what will happen? The entire gantry girder will fall. Not a 1 kilo or 2 kilo, it is 100,000 tons of weight falling on somebody's head, collapse completely. So you have to check what is called. So all these things have been done with the surveying, concept of surveying. Okay, it is only simple mathematics, simple trigonometry, and its application. And somewhere you borrow something from analytical geometry. Nothing more than that. That is enough actually. So when you do your surveying office, and when you start plotting it, you start you are drawing it A, B, B, C, C, D, E, E, A. E and EA or A and A dash should merge actually. If it merges, you get 100 mark actually. If it doesn't merge, what will happen? You cannot go back to the field and do the again measurement. So we have to adjust the closing error. So error adjustment is the need of it. How to adjust the error? It is not a mistake. Kindly understand, it is not a mistake. It is the error which you are adjusting. So what is the what is the error? What is the latitude of error and departure of error? If you can say that, my job is very easy.
L cos delta.
Latitude is
L cos
error.
delta. It's A dash cos delta.
So the algebraic sum of latitude equal to 0. Algebraic sum of
0.
departure equal to 0. Suppose my algebraic sum of the latitude, I am getting it negative. Algebraic sum of departure, I am getting it negative. which quadrant the error lies?
Fourth.
Huh?
Third quadrant, sir.
Third quadrant. Third quadrant. Okay. Theta delta measuring it as delta D by delta L. Okay. So what is the whole circle bearing now?
(180 plus delta, sir).
Wonderful. 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 If you understand this, this is okay. But what is the length of it? Closing error?
Root of delta L square plus
D
delta
square
D.
plus sigma L square. That's all. Okay. To understand the concept of closing error, you have to talk all these things. With one figure, I have to talk about a 1 hour actually. Right? I'll be talking like this one, here and after. Is that clear, all of you? So what is a closing error? Where actually it creeps in? When you start plotting it. Okay? Right? Error is due to something creeping in beyond the purview of the observer. Something which creeps into the observation. Okay. Suppose I read 20 degrees, 2 degree, what is it called?
Mistake.
Mistake. Okay. Mistake is different. Okay. Error is different. Error is beyond the purview of the observer. So you have, now that you have learned what is a error. So tomorrow's class you will be finding out a graphical solution as well the analytical solution for a closing error. Is that okay for you, all of you?
Yes, sir.
So I'll close down now. Tomorrow what time you are meeting? 4 o'clock?
Sir, one problem is there tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
What?
Sir, the students who have applied for that OP Jindal scholarship have quiz at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow.
What is it?
So from the college itself, the students who have applied for that scholarship have the quiz at that time tomorrow by the 4:30 p.m.
So we'll have
So
it
if
from
you,
4:40 or
sir, the
4:30.
timing has been told to us between 4:30 and 5:30. So if you can take class before that, then it's fine.
3:30, 3:45 to 4:30.
Sir, actually, we have to get prepared in advance. Before 10 or 15 minutes, we need before the quiz. So if you can take the class between 3 and 4, it will be fine.
Okay, fine. So 3 o'clock. Okay, fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any doubt, boys?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. I'll close down.